All right, so in your literary devices journal, you copied this diagram. So go ahead and take a moment and copy it on a page all by itself, and then press the play button. So now we're going to define each of those terms. So when we talk about the exposition of a story, this is usually the beginning. It's the first chapter, the first couple pages of the first chapter. And it's where the author front loads us with all the back information that we might know. It's frequently a place where our character is described physically and sort of their personality is described. It's where we get the first dose of setting description. And it's also where we get the first hint at what the problems the character is going to face are, what's called the initial conflict. So in this example, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away from Star Wars, it's not even a full sentence. It's part of the exposition, but it sets up our setting for us just super fast. In something like Boy of the Painted Cave, the first couple pages of chapter 1 immediately introduce us to our main character. We know that Tao is a boy set in a long time ago in sort of Neolithic time period, and that he's got that bad foot and that he wants to be a painter. We learn this within sentences. So it's where our author builds our background information and tries to hook us in. Then you're going to write down the word conflict. And when we talk about the conflict, this might have been what an elementary school teacher called the dilemma or problem that got the story started. And it's the struggle that comes between the interplay of two opposing forces for the main character. Sometimes in stories, it is the hero versus the villain or the good guy versus the bad guy. But sometimes it's more of an inner choice or decision that the character is struggling with. And when we talk about that initial conflict, again, it's the problem that gets the story started. So in something like Boy of the Painted Cave, the initial problem, the initial conflict is that he forgets the rabbit and he is banished from the clan. If that didn't happen, the rest of the story wouldn't have happened. So it's a place where the author hooks us in by building interest, suspense, and tension. Then we're going to talk about the rising action. And these are the events that take place during the bulk of the story. And so each time we turn the page, something new and exciting is happening. More conflicts appear, or the conflict that started in the beginning gets more and more detailed, and we find out more about it. And all of this is adding to our eventual choice or decision that our hero has to make. So that's the rising action, and that's usually what keeps us, it's what's called the page turner, so it keeps us interested in the story. Then we talk about the climax and epiphany, and these two devices are often connected very closely. When we talk about an epiphany, we're talking about a decision, a choice, or a mental realization. It's all inside the character's head. The climax is the event or action that goes with that epiphany. So sometimes you make a decision which causes the climax. You decide to do something and then you do it. You say something like, oh, I think I'm strong enough. I think I'm brave enough. Now I'll go battle the bad guy. That's your epiphany. And then your actual battle is the climax. Sometimes it works the other way. Sometimes the character is inadvertently thrust in a battle and they think they're not going to make it. And then in the battle, they come out victorious. And afterwards, they're like, wow, I'm braver than I thought. That would be the climax triggering the epiphany. And so one example would be that the Isaac Newton and the Archimedes, they both had an action, an event happen, the apple falling, the bath, and that action triggered their understanding or their epiphany. Okay, and the next screen is a spoiler alert for Harry Potter. So don't look at it if you haven't read all of Harry Potter. So in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, at the very end of the book, Harry realizes that the plan was always for him to die. That's his epiphany. He's done all of these things and he comes to this realization. And then after that, he takes an action. So if we look at that story as a whole, that is Harry's epiphany. Okay, moving forward. The following action, the denouement, is a French word for unknotting. And this is after that climax and epiphany. This is when all the details are sorted out. In a murder mystery, it's when we figure out exactly how the crime happened. It's when they live happily ever after and they move into a new castle and they have a pet frog or something. It's all those loose ends getting cleaned up for us, that the author likes to tie things together for us. And it usually happens pretty quickly in young adult fiction. Sometimes it only takes a paragraph. And then the resolution is sort of the happily ever after. Everything is nice and neatly done for us. and goodbye to all of the characters. Now, obviously, if we have a book in a series, the resolution doesn't quite happen because the author leaves us hanging and wanting to tune in for the next book in the series.